went for the offside for Šeško, I'm 100% sure. I think that when they made the analysis of that, they saved themselves. They said it was offside. I'm 100% sure, I repeat myself, that the linesman thought Šeško was offside. There, Leipzig were robbed. They should have been 1-0 for them, 100%.
Generally, not the best performance from Real Madrid?
And yet not a surprising performance from Real Madrid. This is, again, the best example of one of those matches in which you go, how? Why did they win this game? They shouldn't have, but it is Real Madrid and it is Champions League, and somehow they always seem to find a way. The truth of the matter is that their most valuable player today, MVP performance, was Andre Lunin. And if indeed your goalkeeper is your MVP, then you must have given opportunities and you must have been absorbing some pressure, which Real Madrid did. Real Madrid did not have control of this match. The strength of this team seems to be in the midfield, and yet today, a guy like Toni Kroos, the game bypassed him because Leipzig had sustained pressure, and whenever Real Madrid got out, they got out in transition. So the game was never under control for Real Madrid. Toni Kroos was never in control of the match for Real Madrid, and therefore the game got stretched. It allowed Real Madrid to get out in transition. It allowed Vini to run freely in the second half and create a couple of opportunities. But on the whole, if you're Leipzig, you're looking at this and go, how did we lose this? How in the world did we lose this? And I'll tell you how they lost it. It's not new. There's a reason as to why Leipzig are outside of the top four right now in Bundesliga, and as to why they've only won one game now in 6 matches since the start of 2024. They have difficulties in front of goal. For all the good things that they do in the attack, for all the chances they create, for all the half chances that they have, guess what? They're not efficient and they're not effective in front of goal. We cover Bundesliga, and let me just tell you, this is the same story that you see from Leipzig every weekend, in which they seem to create chances, they have 15 shots, they have shots on goal, they have opportunities, goalkeeper makes save, they hit the post, they miss chances, they're not effective, they're not efficient. That's why they lose this game, and Real Madrid just kind of go into Leipzig, get the result they want, perhaps another performance, but it doesn't matter. One moment of brilliance from Brahim Diaz, great goalkeeper for Andre Lunin, 1-0.
And if you don't take the chances, there's one side that has a history of burying you because of it, and it is Real Madrid. But I want to go back to this disallowed goal, because I think it's huge, because RB Leipzig have shown that with Real Madrid's injuries that they have, and they added another one tonight, at least one in Brahim Diaz, that they can get at them. Now, whether they can take the chances remains to be seen. So that disallowed goal was huge. And what got me was the way the officials dismissed it very, very quickly. And not sending, and this is a bugbear. This is the knockout stages of the Champions League. There had to be some element of debate. That was not a cut and dry offside. Automated offside, cut and dry. No. Send the match official over to the monitor and as the top official at the game, let him make a decision when he has 30 seconds to look at it and go, actually, I think he's impeding the goalkeeper, or I don't think he's impeding him. But at least let the match official, Jan, go and make a determination.
Go on, Jan.
I think it's interesting, the analysis of Al, because of course it is. Leipzig is doing what they've done in the Bundesliga lately. They haven't been in their best form. Real Madrid has done as they've done every time in Champions League. Remember a couple of years ago, they won the Champions League. In every round, they somehow found a way. But we can't discuss that performance without thinking of RB Leipzig not getting the 1-0. And I'm not saying this is a cover-up or anything. I'm just saying is that when Real Madrid go to Leipzig, those kind of things can happen with the bigger teams. I mean, that mystery is older than football is. And the thing is, if that was Real Madrid, do you think the referee will go and have a look at the situation? Of course he would. Would he done it with Manchester City? Of course. With Liverpool, with Bayern Munich, with the big teams. But RB Leipzig, and that is one of the reasons. Imagine a team like Real Madrid coming to Leipzig, going 1-0 down so early. This would be a different story. Coming to the final, Real Madrid in the final, Bellingham is man of the match. Nobody will think of that goal in Leipzig. And that is a part of us as well. So we have to put this in the analysis of that game. That was unfair.
And you know how unclear this situation was, that even the match director, they're showing replays, and they're not quite sure as to what is it that they're looking for in this replay.
Good point.
It's like they're going back, even later as the match went on, they're sort of having to go back to kind of clarify, I think this is what they're calling. There wasn't a whole lot of clarity as to what was being called. Now, in terms of, I think we all agree that we don't think Luning gets back to that ball, and so therefore should not have been an offside. But that's the subjective part of it, and that's the interpretation of a referee. And to the point that Craig is making, then allow the referee to go and see it and indeed make that interpretation, seeing the full picture and understanding why is it that this guy is in an offside position. And then you make that interpretation by watching it once again, like we got a chance to do it 20 minutes later, because it wasn't immediately that they made it clear as to what is it that what had happened in that sequence of play. The referee did not get that second chance. We did, and eventually you come to a conclusion, well, I guess it's that little notch. I guess that's what they're given. I don't know that I would have given it myself, but that was the interpreration.
And even
I don't want to dwell on it, but why not?
Right.
Well, you know, one of the problems. I tell you, one of the problems, right? But there was a game here, and Ali's right. Real Madrid did not play well. We could have showed you those highlights again differently with 10 chances, decent, maybe 6 or 7 decent chances for RB Leipzig, right? And Lunin making save after save after save. But let me tell you one of the issues here. UEFA do not want controversy. They don't. They want to brush all these things aside when they're going, and what's happening is, at these games, if you wonder how it operates, there will be a German host broadcaster, but there will be UEFA delegates hovering over and around match directors and whatnot, making sure that it's cleaned up as best possible. As if we're in the 1970s, right? And nobody's going to notice. And that's part of the problem. They almost try to, because we're all sitting there going, are we going to see a replay of this? I mean, we're going to clear this up. And it took so long, and that's the problem. They don't want any controversy, particularly when it's the big teams. Yeah. And that's fact. They can argue all they want that no, we just let it. We're the same for everybody. We just let the directors cut the game. No, you don't. We know you don't, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah, they don't want controversy, but they're getting confusion. Marco Rosa, the manager, after the match, even said he kind of didn't get a proper explanation of what had happened.
He did. You're not getting the goal.
No, but they couldn't. I mean, if you go to the referee and ask him, why did you not give it? They will have no clue why we didn't get it. Because there were 3 different situations, and they just put 1-1-1 and put all together to a decision. So, no, that was not fair. And it's a big part of this result tonight for RB Leipzig.
Let's bring it back to Real Madrid. Obviously, Brahim Diaz gets a golazo.
He's been terrific.
How much did they miss Jude Bellingham in this match?
Do you know? Well, look.
I mean, they didn't play their best. He was there over the weekend, and they wiped the floor with Girona. This was a much different team than we saw over the weekend with Bellingham.
You're going to taking Jude Bellingham out your side is going to have an effect. I don't think that's why they played the way they did. I think what they found at the weekend was a Girona team that were almost in awe of the position they were in and were slightly afraid and got outplayed and got tactically, Ancelotti got it right. And we had a Leipzig side tonight that it's a way more physical, got a lot more pace, and had a lot more energy, particularly in the middle of the park. And I think that it wasn't so much Bellingham being out. The fact that RB Leipzig actually did, until the final third, did a damn good job. And will feel somewhat confident of going there and at least putting a show up and having a chance. I think they've given themselves enough within this game to say, we can go there and at least be competitive. But I don't think this was about Bellingham being in and out the side. I think it was about more than that.
And to the point of Brahim Diaz and the fact that he scores a goal that he does, following El Derby against Atletico Madrid where he scored, it's almost as if to say, look, I'm not Jude, but I can do some of the same things that he does, or I can do what I bring to this team, and I can do it well, and I can be productive. Give me a chance. Don't judge me before I'm out on the field, and allow me to do the things that I'm capable of doing. And to be quite honest with you, he has indeed been very good for Carlo Ancelotti and Real Madrid in the absence of Jude Bellingham.
Jan, go ahead.
Yeah, now take nothing away from that goal. I mean, we can talk about Jude all day, all night long, but that goal is brilliant. There were so many aspects to that game. Sometimes when we make the goal of the round or the goal of the month and everything, but the first trick he's doing, fantastic. I mean, the left back or RB Leipzig, he's still looking for a way to get out. Then there's one or two touches at the opposition, he still managed to have the balance there. Then he comes into the danger area. Then you have to find that corner, and he finds it. That was as good as goal as you will see all this week in every league in Europe.
But it's not like it's a surprise from Brahim Diaz. It's been there for, what, 2 to 3 months now at least. Where
he comes off injured in this game too.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. And you saw at the end there the ice pack on the calf. If you're an extremely positive person, cramp, but I don't think it is. It looks to me as if the way that he pulled up, that he's tweaked something in his calf, and that's not going to be anybody that's had a calf problem, because your whole body weight goes through it and you're pushing off. I don't know, could be a couple of weeks, could be a month. So that's a big blow for him. And I suppose Real Madrid, but they've got other people that can come in. But it's a blow for a player who just looks like he's as confident as anybody pulling on a Real Madrid shirt, that he's going to be out for, as I say, a short period now.
We got 3 weeks till the second leg. You giving Leipzig any chance?
I'm not. I just don't think that they go to Santiago Bernabeu and are able to match the history of Santiago Bernabeu, and particularly the Champions League history of Santiago Bernabeu and Real Madrid, and what that team becomes in that second leg when they're playing at home. We will see a much better version of Real Madrid at home. That crowd will get behind Real Madrid, and the importance of that goal that was disallowed. If you go 1-1, I give you a fighter's chance. Going down, I just don't see it. Leipzig is a team that has to be able to score goals when are presented with the opportunities, and they haven't been able to do that over the course of the season. I don't think that changes in 3 weeks, and Real Madrid are better than what they were today. In the end, I think Real Madrid goes through.
Jan, you agree?
I do agree, because they're 1-0 down. That's one thing. Then you go to Santiago Bernabeu. That in your head you're 2-0 down. Then you have too much respect for the players and Real Madrid at home. Then you're nearly 3-0 down. So I don't think this RB Leipzig team, with the lack of confidence they have in the Bundesliga, they had their shot. They didn't get it. They were not given. They didn't take their chances. So that is bye-bye, auf Wiedersehen to one of the German teams.
There we have it. Then Brahim Diaz with the only goal of the game winner, as Real Madrid go to RB Leipzig in the first leg of the knockout round of the Champions League and pick up a 1-0 victory. You can watch Real Madrid back in action on Sunday, taking on Rayo Vallecano, a short road trip, as they'll be playing their city rivals there, 8 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday. That's the rest of the Matchday 25 slate for La Liga, which, of course, is available right here on ESPN+.
It's over.
How about that? Expected goals, 3.39 to 0.28 in this one. Manchester City dominant. They win 3-1. If I might suggest a place to start for us, Kevin De Bruyne, spectacular today.
Well, just getting better as he gets fitter and sharper after missing half the season with injury. So yeah, no surprise there. Phil Foden clearly has been in terrific form last couple of months, getting better and better. Where do you stop with City? I mean, I suppose the only thing would be they're winning, but I see some frustration, particularly early on in the game, in Erling Haaland, and maybe Jan can touch on this, and that they do so much with the ball around the field from side to side, and he's making a lot of runs, and they don't like to force a pass, and they don't always look for that pass, and I think there is some frustration there from his perspective. He did get some chances in the second half, which was a little unfortunate, and the keeper made some saves. But yeah, he has to he almost bite his tongue sometimes, because as a striker, Jan and Ali will know, a striker always thinks they've made the right run for the right pass, and that should have been the ball. And he's making a lot of runs, but that's the way Man City play. Sometimes he's not really heavily involved, and as long as he can accept that, and it seems like he has pretty well, as long as he can accept that and he pops up and gets his quota of goals in the big games at the right time, I don't think it'll be a problem. But certainly from a front man's perspective, I would imagine it could be pretty frustrating. But look, Copenhagen, we got what we expected. You know, got Scott McKenna at the back. He used to play for Aberdeen. He's surplus requirements at Nottingham Forest. who are in the bottom of the English Premier League, and here he is playing in the knockout stages of the Champions League. That's kind of where Copenhagen are compared to the best team in Europe.
Right. Let's bring it back to Haaland. Obviously didn't get on the score sheet today. Jan, what did you think of his performance?
Oh, I think Craig did good on that and telling us how he did in a game. It's a bit frustrating when you're doing all those runs. Remember, he's been out for a long time, and I think that goalkeepers and strikers need some time to find that rhythm. Of course, it helped when you score 2 goals, as it did against Everton on Saturday. And today as well, at the end there, it came through, the goalkeeper saved, and he was a bit frustrated standing behind the goal and thinking, wow, I have to get into the game again. Then he got a header and the keeper saved that as well. But I think there is no danger there. He will get in form, as will Manchester City. And I think, boys, if we saw Manchester City, the last 10-15 minutes of the game, they were desperate to get that 3-1. Why? Because that is so important for them, because this next game against Copenhagen will be between Manchester United game and the Liverpool game. They can kind of plan it a bit. So De Bruyne coming into form, Foden on fire at the moment. You have John Stones back, Erling Haaland, well, statistically scored a lot of goals coming into this. So I think that with Haaland thing, he just needs this game to get into it. But they have to find him again. And I agree with Craig. There were a couple of 3 times today they should have found him earlier. But we had that part last season as well. There was a period where they couldn't find him right. But as we saw against Everton, De Bruyne passed to him the 2-0 goal, world class.
And that is exactly the point. And that's why perhaps it's frustrating for Erling Haaland that Kevin De Bruyne finds him in the manner in which he did against Everton. Yeah, it's a through ball, but Erling Haaland essentially tells the defender, get off me, right? Get off me. Hit the weight room. You can't stay with me. You can't stay with this physicality, with this strength, with this speed. And there are multiple times in which he makes those runs that Craig and Jan have alluded to, in which they just kind of, I'm going to give it. No, I'm not going to give it to him. You're going to go sideways. And so if I'm Erling Haaland, from the perspective of the striker, and I just prove, as I've done time and time again, that if you put me in a 50-50 challenge with a defender and you just let me run and let me stretch my legs, I'm going to win most of those challenges. I'm going to get to that ball first, and I'm going to create a chance for myself, and I'm going to score a goal. I just did it this past week. And yet you still don't play me. That has to be frustrating, because you kind of go, hold on, I've proven that you play me that ball, I'm going to score. What are we doing? What are we doing here to do? What are we here? We want to score a goal, right? Just play me the through ball. If I give you the run, play me the through ball. That's what I'm here for. Use me and use my assets, use my skill, use what I bring to this team. That sometimes I think can be frustrating, not only for Erling Haaland, it's frustrating for me watching it, because I am seeing the move of the striker, and yet they don't use him properly. I still don't think that they use Erling Haaland to the best of his abilities.
I don't want to be too picky on Manchester City. They did win 3-1 away.
Go on then, pick him.
The Ederson mistake. At that moment of the game, I know it's how they play, but like, why? It just seems like such an unnecessary risk.
Have you noticed how all these teams play these days? There's no point us sitting here saying, oh, kick it long. That ship has sailed. It's gone, right? It's sunk. They're just not doing it now.
Is there a difference between, okay, he's not going to kick it long, but he's going to play it right down the middle when he's up 1-0 away in the Champions League, the game totally under control?
Champions League final, 5 minutes to go, there's a different scenario, right? It would probably lump it up the field. But whether we like it or not, and back in the day, the goalkeeper lumped everything. Ask Shaka.
Yeah.
Ask him. It was like a hot potato. It went as far away from the goal as possible. But the game has just changed. Whether we agree with these little instances in the game or not, I bet his manager's not in the dressing room saying, I told you to say, just be better, take more care. It is what it is now. Would that sympathy come along maybe in a much bigger game that's got more at stake if they were playing Real Madrid or whatever? Maybe not. But we just have to accept that mistakes are going to happen. And it's across the board. It's almost across the board now with all the goalkeepers at every club and every league.
And to your question, Seb, is it the moment of the game call for something different, because you allow the fan and you allow Copenhagen to get into a game that they were not a part of. And you gave them the life. And if I were to be critical of Manchester City, I would say that this season, if there is something that you can point at, is so many different types of mistakes that they have made in the defensive half that allows teams into games that you were in full control of. And you think of Crystal Palace, for example. Crystal Palace should not be playing on the same field with Manchester City. And yet it has happened. So you want to clean this up if you're Manchester City. You want to clean it up in Champions League. You want to clean it up in the Premier League as well. Because those are the only reasons as to why this team want to achieve the things that they want to achieve, and they should be good enough to achieve this season. The fact that they continue to make these little silly mistakes that we kind of brush under the table and under the rug because they go on to win matches, but that should not be the case. Certainly not late into the season.
But we have to put it. First of all, Ederson has the best foot of all goalkeepers in the world. I mean, he has a fantastic foot. Pep Guardiola will say that if he does one mistake, it will add up to all the things that open up from the back. And I'm with Craig. That ship has sailed. I see so many football games, and I see in every round teams concede playing out from the back. But Manchester City, well, they can do their mistakes, and as long as they do that in Copenhagen, that won't be a problem. And yes, you can say that's the only way you can concede goals, being Manchester City, but they've been a bit sloppy before they started with this unbelievable run that they're in at the moment. So, but Ederson, they will do it. And I'm with Craig that Pep Guardiola will say to him, well, next time, do that pass better, not lump it up to a big striker from Norway without teeth. And I'm speaking of me in the 90s.
One last thing on City, I guess the injuries, Grealish, Bernardo Silva, how significant could those be? Obviously, maybe not for the second leg of this, but looking at what's coming in the Premier League and beyond?
Great players. But I've been saying for weeks now, you need not look at the City lineup and worry. You look at the other teams and you go, unless they get 6 or 7 injuries to the real stars. You looked at the bench in the last 2 or 3 games, and whether he plays Oscar Bob, the youngster who's been brilliant, whether he plays any of these guys, Rico Lewis or any of them, I don't really think at this stage of the season it's going to have too much effect. Great players, particularly Bernardo Silva, who's played a huge part. But the one thing I don't do when City are playing at the moment is look at the starting 11, because they've probably got about a starting 18 or 19 that can all come in and are quality footballers. So I don't think it's going to affect them.
I think, Craig, the only thing that can avoid Manchester City in terms of injuries, if something happened to Rodri, we know that. If something happened to Haaland, if something happened to De Bruyne, the rest is replaceable, if that's an English word for it, because they have the broad squad that they do. But to win 1 or 2 or 3 titles, my view is that they have to keep these 3 players not only fit, they have to keep them in form.
Well, they've had De Bruyne out, as you know, Jan, and they've had Haaland out at times this season, and they've coped. Julian Alvarez has been fantastic. What a signing he's been. When he came in, was it River Plate he came? Yes. When he comes in from River Plate, you're thinking, he's going to sit in the bench, but he's been so good for them. I mean, he was a World Cup winner, for God's sake. But it's tough getting in this City side. Ask Calvin Phillips and other players. Riyad Mahrez, it took him a while to get in the side, and then he was brilliant before he hot-footed it to Saudi Arabia. But out of those 3 players you mentioned, they've coped without 2 of them admirably. I don't think they cope without Rodri.
He's the one.
For a sustained period, I think he's the best all-round midfielder, defensive side of it, but all-round in world football at the moment. I just don't think there's anybody can do what that guy does on a consistent basis, and certainly City don't have that player.
Yeah, talk about that depth at City. I mean, Julian Alvarez didn't even get off the bench in this game, and they had 2 injuries in attack. So that's the kind of bench that Pep Guardiola has. Plenty more on the Champions League, both these games and tomorrow's matches as well. On the next edition
Jules is in the big chair. I love how they move.
Of the Gab and Jules show. The latest edition, as you can see, featured Stuart Robson. Not